Welcome. You're on Radio FM 88 Australia. My name's Jeff Shaw. My co-host is Julie Chai. Our guest is Kai Phoenix, and we're just going to do a little quick promo. Right, thank you very much. That's something new this week. So anyway, flick you across to Julia, my co-host and good mate.
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining our show, Dreaming the New Dream. This week we have a very special guest, Kai Phoenix. Kai is a spiritual artist who channels light beings, guides, higher selves, and light codes connected to her clients. She's been working in this field for over 10 years and has evolved to working with the Galactic Federation through languages of light to assist her clients in the Ascension process. And Jeff and I were very excited to have her on the show. We had Mary Rodwell on about a month ago, who was talking about us becoming the new humans in terms of being aware and using our cosmic heritage. So we thought it only right to invite Kai, who's obviously a bit further ahead of this than us in terms of developing and opening up those lines of communications. So welcome, Kai.
Thank you. And thank you, Jeff, as well, for having me on the show tonight. Yeah, I'm very excited. It's the first time I've ever been brave enough to go live. I feel like I need to put in a little bit of a disclaimer, like right at the beginning, because I will speak a lot in light language, or half the time possibly, like in light language. I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum if I can, but it's something that helps me with my thought processes. And also the Federation might step in and do a little bit of light language as well. And I'll translate as much where I can as we go along as well. Thank you both for having me on.
Wow, I mean, listening to you, it just sounds like you're one of these United Nations translators who just like switches in and out of two channels automatically without really thinking about it. When's the first time sort of that you first began, you know, channeling or speaking light language? How did it come about?
Quite by accident, actually. And I first started channeling my guide, my personal guide, just through automatic writing. And I was doing that for about a year, really concentrated, like really, I delved right in, and I committed myself to channeling him 3 times a week for an entire year. And I recorded like the entire year. And he really helped me, like, with my communication skills, I guess. He explained to me a lot about communication. Like I asked about, you know, how were we doing this? How were we communicating? And so, yeah, he taught me like along the way. And I think that just sort of like activated me, you know, then to go further. And I'd never heard of light language before. I didn't know what it was. I was working in aged care, like at the time, and you know, it's not always a pleasant place to work. And in the mornings on my way in, I was living out of town. It would take me half an hour to get to work. And so I would try and go in there as high vibe as I could, you know, like to just help with the energy, like of the place, just to lift the energy. And so I would tone in the car, like on the way there, on the way to work every morning. And I just started off with the vowels and just going through those repetitively and just chanting for half an hour before I got to work. And then after a few weeks of doing that, I got bored. I got bored with doing that. And so I started just sort of like playing with adding letters, and you know, I would just go through that bit like one at a time. So one day I might just do you know, well, I went through methodically. I went through A, B, C, D. I went through like the whole alphabet and added it onto the vowels of the chanting that you'd normally do for chakra toning. And then I started to play around with it. I was having fun, and I thought, oh, I'll just play around with this. And you know, how many words can I make up with the letter P, and that are non-English speaking words, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I was just playing. And so I'd make up all these words starting with P that weren't any human language that I knew, like of. And then I did that for every sort of like letter of the alphabet. And then when I got through the alphabet, I started joining two words together, you know, like a P and an M. So I'd go P, papa. So in the beginning, it would be like papa, papa, oi, papa, papa, nama, papa, papa, ina, mama, maya, mama, moya. And then it started to turn more into sort of like words, like they would join up together. And then once I started, I realised that, and then once I started getting words, I thought, oh, like if I can join words together, I could start making a sentence. And then once I got sentences, it progressed, and I was getting paragraphs and things. And I didn't know anybody who was doing this. I wasn't really into, you know, the internet and stuff at that stage. And so this is going back 2013. And then I went to a psychic expo, like a big expo that we have up here on the Sunshine Coast every year. And I did a workshop there on the selenite swords, if anyone's ever seen those before. They're sort of quantum tools of light that have come onto the planet. And the lady who was helping Tom Leder run the selenite sword workshop was speaking in this language, and it was a different language to what I had been doing, but I immediately sort of like hooked in. I thought, wow, that sounds similar to what like I've been doing. And so I just sort of latched onto her, and it turned out just at that time she was starting to run a light language workshop, like one of the first light language workshops ever on the coast. She was quite proficient at the language at this time. I was just beginning and just learning. And so she was gathering people who were either interested or were doing the language themselves. And we had like a 2-day workshop where it was more like her holding space and giving us the freedom to express ourselves and express our different languages and meet other people who were doing the same, like as us as well. Because, you know, it was very weird, especially back then, because it was unknown. Or fairly unknown. It was kind of like a bit of a weird thing to be doing. And so it just gave confidence, I guess. And we were all light workers, you know, we were all like doing some kind of like healing work. And it just, I think, gave us permission and just gave us support, you know, from each other, that we weren't weirdos, and that, you know, this was a thing, and just to have fun and explore it. And she was amazing. Her name's Marika Love, and you can see her on Facebook. She's an amazing lady. And yeah, so she helped. Like, so I was already activated. She has helped a lot of people activate their language as well. But a lot of us were already sort of activated, but we just sort of like weren't really aware of what to do with it, how to use it, you know, all of that type of thing. So yeah, it just developed from there. And then later on, you know, as I started to work with it and use it more, and of course it developed from, you know, speaking the light language, and then it developed into light codes and light language, so written form. And then also signing as well. So so the signing came in as well, and that opened up a whole other avenue. And then from there, I connected through to the Galactic Team, the Federation, through the signing through the hands, because they started to move my body, and I felt like I knew it wasn't me, and I was like, what's happening, what's going on, you know? And I started asking questions, and then I got answers. So they would do weird things, you know, they would start me clicking or clapping and cheering, and yeah, it was like they had not entirely taken over my body, but it was just like I was surrendering, to the movements and the sounds and everything like that. And I just knew it was me. So I started asking questions, and then they started telling me what they were doing and everything. I thought, well, like who is this? Who am I connected to and stuff. And so that's how I found out about DC-12. And then from there, I just kind of explored it. I just surrendered to it and just explored and asked a lot of questions, and that's just how I learnt, really. Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like quite a
Sorry
journey.
for
When
that.
you were, thanks for sharing. When you were talking about, your first initial experimenting, it's funny because that ties in with what we were talking about with our guest last week, about babies trying to communicate, and the fact that they are actually
Yes.
trying to. Have you had experiences with babies
Yeah.
in light language, them responding to you?
Yes. So can I say that because that's really interesting that you bring that up, because babies do speak light language, and I remember my daughter's first word was "ga," and I was like, so excited. Most kids, their first word is "da." Um, so something similar to that, and that's like what I was doing, like in the beginning. And we speak English because we were taught to speak English. We were, we were encouraged, and the same with, if you're Spanish, you speak Spanish. If you're Italian, you speak Italian, because your parents taught you to do that. And so you learnt by rote learning, and it pleased your parents when you spoke. You did baby's first words and you get all excited, and then you start teaching them. And so babies will fall into that way of knowing. Because it Sorry, ito is arnatong no moiki. So they're speaking now, right? So they're speaking to us now. But is arnate kiseto tata amara elana arnat to oi kiseto arnate tata is arnate kite. They're saying it wasn't always that way. It hasn't always been that way, right? Imbuto arnate kisetana alana arnate kite. Okay, so they're taking me back to Neanderthal times, like when, before the first words were spoken, for the, like there was no language. They're going, how did people communicate? Okay, they're telling me telepathy, like people communicated telepathically, which is what we are evolving back into, like now. And this is the light language is a bridge to telepathy, full telepathy. And how DC-12 communicate with me is through light language and visual imagery and telepathy, so a combination like of all of those. And so when we were babies, like we grew up learning to speak human language because that's what everybody else was doing, and we kind of like had to fit in with that. But our natural innate language is our light language, and everybody possesses their own light language, and everybody's is different. And then you think, well, okay, if we all spoke our different light language, then how could we all communicate? But it's like it's a higher form of communication. It's like it's partly telepathic, and it's partly heart based, like heart censored and feeling based. The light language is helping us to let go and release and let go of the human like language. Amongst many other things. It is so expansive, light language. I was thinking about it today, and I thought, God, you could probably write a university degree on this. It's so full on. Like there's so much to know like about it. And my personal guide, when I first started speaking the light language, and it was, like, because I had a lot of questions, what is it doing? And it's doing so many things, and it's multidimensional as well. So when I speak here, it's not just in this realm, like in my realm, in your realm, in the earthly realm. It's also going out to the universe, like it's echoing out into the universe, and it's also crossing into other dimensions. And what it does, like in each space, in each realm, it's doing different things depending on like what is required, like in that realm at that time, in that space, in that zone, right? So in one zone it could be, you know, like maybe on the earth realm I could be doing an activation, and at the same time it's traveled into past life ancestral clearing. And then maybe it's sent a message out into the galactic universe all at the same time. It's multi-dimensional, blows my mind. Yes, torna te ki tana ai si torna ki a papai ki lana arnai te se tuna oi ki na hai si torna tai ki lana arnai toi ki matai ki. So everybody has this language like inside them, and some people will naturally be activated like I was. These, you know, and wow, wasn't there an explosion of it like on the planet? Like how amazing is that all of these people, you know, across the globe, even, you know, in third nation countries, are all spontaneously switched on at the same time, like as well. And that was no accident, right? That was like highly planned. And you know, obviously the light workers and the way showers, like, you know, came first. Then we're here to assist and help others. Not all people will speak light language. Some people might only write it, draw it. Some people only sign it. Some people dance the light language. That's amazing. That's so beautiful. That's a lovely expression, like, as well. Yeah, so, but it's here to expand us. It's here to raise the vibration, like, of the planet. It's here to activate, to heal. So many things are codes. There's codes in it. That's what I was going to say. Like, yeah, so when I asked my guide, like, about it, and he said that the language, like amongst many other things that it is, and it does, is a transport system. And much like blood is a transport system throughout the body to carry oxygen and nutrients throughout the body to the cells. And so in the cells, they once the nutrients and the oxygen and the nutrients get to the cells, then it activates change in the cell, right? So the light language is doing the same thing. So it's a transport system. So it's sound vibration and sound frequency. And he said to me, carried on that sound vibration, that sound frequency is mathematics and scientific data. So it's a transport system for information, and then that information, you know, gets into the cells, like the oxygen and nutrients with the blood gets into the cells, and that's how it activates change. So like a pill, when you take a pill, like a pharmaceutical pill or a medical pill, and I know Julia, your guest, and Jeff, the guest that you had on the other night, was talking about cymatics and the sound vibration and sound frequency, and you know, that is such a great visual of like what happens like on a cellular level. And so when you take a pill, like the pill just contains information, really. It's scientific and mathematic information inside that pill, that when you swallow it, it you know, if you look at it chemistry wise, like it's a chemical equation, and it reacts like with other chemical equations inside the body. And so the light language like does the same thing. And all sound vibration and sound frequencies, so or anything to do with sound healing, does the same thing as well. Like the sound itself is the transport system for the information contained in that. But the thing with sound, and I know that he mentioned Bruce Witten, and I can't remember the figures either, but like it was something like a pill travels, I think it's like something like 8 It's not very fast anyway. When it goes into the body, like it takes a long time to act. It's something like 8 miles a minute, or I don't know. I wish I could remember. Like, and I've been searching all day for that actual specific information, and I couldn't find it. But if you go to Bruce Lipton on YouTube, yeah, he's got a YouTube video on sound frequency as medicine, and it talks about it, how quickly the sound frequency enters the body. It's like 300,000 kilometers per second or something like that, compared to 8 kilometers per minute with pharmaceutical medicine. So my guide was saying that, this is the medicine of the future. This is the 5D medicine of the future. Is it that we're evolving into, and we're just like now really learn how to use it. And like I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like really, I'm sure like there's so much more like with it that as we evolve, like as humans as well, because we're drip fed these things, because we can only handle so much because we're not advanced enough, I guess, to handle more. And so, it will evolve. Well, he said, I was reading some notes before, and he said, as we evolve, so do our codes, so do our language, so does the information that we're given as well. So I'm excited to see, where it's going to lead us.
Yeah, that's really exciting, all this potential. And yes, I think Thomas Staudacher was mentioning that it was pretty much near the speed of light versus, medicine.
Yeah,
that you have to
yeah.
And it's interesting, when you were talking in that light language, I noticed that it travels straight into my third eye and into the pineal gland, whereas when we're talking normal language, I have to listen to it with my ears and then I have to process it. So I was just really interested to notice that. So Kai, tell us more about your guide. You've sent us a couple of paintings. Does that include one of the pictures of your guide by any chance? Where is your guide? Is it he or she or a shim? Is what do you know about the guide that you're willing to share with us today?
Okay, so look, my guide, personal guide, he actually won't show himself to me, so I've never seen his face. So I haven't drawn him. But one of the pictures that I did send, which is the Star Commander, is he's part of DC-12, and so he's part of the Galactic Federation team. Yeah. Isn't he gorgeous? Oh,
yeah. So what's his name?
He's part of the. Pardon?
What's his name?
What's his name?
But yeah.
Yeah, that's all I know him as the Star Commander, and he's part of the team that I channel DC-12 from the Galactic Federation Light, and DC-12 are a mix. Like they're a mix of different nations, different beings. And so normally, like when people channel groups, like they channel, they'll channel a group of Pleiadians or they'll channel a group of Arcturians. But my group, like they seem to be like a mix of different like beings and different nations. And I'm guessing that's because they all would have different specialties, I think. So.
And what's their function?
Yeah, he just
why are they talking to you?
Okay, so their main specialty, like I guess, is working with energy and frequency. And look, that took me a while to work out. It took me a while to work out what they were doing and what they were here for and everything. And so some people will channel groups from the Pleiades or something like that, and they're very information based, and they will just channel them word for word, and they'll channel it in English. My team seemed to be more focused on the energetics. That's a magnetic self I did for a client. I just wanted to show, like, I guess, different beings sentient beings that are both here on the planet and in the beyond, like I guess. Yes, so my teams seem to be focused like more like on energy and frequency and vibration, and they're here to inject more light into the planet. They're here to help raise people's vibration, help with their frequencies, help restore their vibration and their frequency and their DNA codes, and restore their blueprints. You know, because we've been through a lot of distortions, like as human beings, and so they're just here to assist through that. And at the same time, they're actually training me, like, and teaching me. So they're teaching me to work with the energies, and we don't only just work on clients. Sometimes we work on the land, like, as well. And they're also teaching me to translate the light language, because when I work with them, like, I work 50% of the time like in light language. And the reason for that is because you know, when you speak, like you were saying before, Julia, like, you know, you felt it like in your third eye. So when we speak in English, it's what I call a flat language. Like, it just, you speak it, it goes out, it just falls, like it just falls flat. And people perceive it, you know, put their own perceptions like on the English as well, with the human language. And like with the light language, it's kind of like it suspends people like a little bit, like they're sort of a bit taken aback, it suspends them. But there's a lot of, you know, information, you know, like I said before, the science and the maths and the information downloads, activations that are going on. So it's activating like parts of your body, things, as you're speaking too. But if I was to do like my whole like reading and clearing in light language for the client who's sitting before me, like, and that goes for an hour, like, they wouldn't understand any of it. And so they give me the English translation as well, so that I will speak it and do it in light language, and then I'll translate it in English, which is a summary basically, because that's another thing too. Like, the light language is, it's a quantum packet of information. So, you know, like on your computer, if you have a lot of information, it's taking up a lot of space, you'll put it into a zip file, which condenses it all. And so the light language does the same thing. So the light language, there's a lot more information in there than you can speak in plain English or human language as well. So you're getting a massive amount of download, and when you see it written, like one little code of light language contains a library of like information, like in that tiny little code and stuff, because it's so concentrated in its format. So when I translate it in English, it's just a summary of what's going on, really. And another reason that they're teaching me to translate in English is, and I found this out by accident, like, too, was, I'm not saying there's going to be, because they told me the other day that the Federation is, you know, with everything that's going on in the planet, like right now, you know, people are saying, you know, why don't the Federation step in, or why don't these galactic beings like step in and, you know, like stop all of this? And that's because, like, the ground crew are here already, like, working on it, and so they're holding themselves back. And they, you know, they said to us in a meeting we had the other day, they think like we're doing a good job and that they don't need to step in. And so they're there, they're observing everything, they're holding themselves back, and they're just allowing us to go forward. But if they ever did descend on the planet, they're probably, well, half of them are probably not going to speak English Spanish, Italian, Japanese, and everything. So they're going to need translators. And so some of us like here who have learned how to translate it, and not everyone who speaks that language can translate it like either, but some of us are being trained up like as well, so that if that ever were to happen like in the future, they've got people dotted throughout the planet who could step up and assist with to do with communication between the races.
That's really interesting, because I certainly know around just before 2012 I sort of signed up to be one of these delegations, go up on a spaceship, but it never really happened. Look, I'm still here. It's nice to hear that as ground crew we're actually doing a good job, because we don't feel like we are.
Scotty, beam me up.
Yeah, no, we are, Julia. It's interesting that you say that, because another thing is like we do a lot, like 95% of the work that we do is during the dream state and in the astral world. So a lot of people like on the planet at the time say, well, what can I do? What can I do? What should I be doing to help or assist and everything? And we are doing a lot in our dream state, a lot at night. And then maybe during the day you're just being human, and and that's fine. That's okay, because you don't realize how much like work is going on when we're all asleep. Most of it. So you could be up there, like like in the galactic stations and stuff, like at night. And you're just being memory wiped or something, like before you come back.
Yeah, that explains sorry. Yeah, that explains that feeling when you wake up and you go, oh, I'm still here.
Damn.
Damn. More as a teenager, obviously.
How many times I've asked to,
What?
So I was going to ask Jeff whether he's had any interaction with the Galactic, but it's different. Galactic Federation and the Galactic Light. So yours is the Galactic Light Team, right, Kai?
Galactic Federation of Light.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Jeff, have you had any experience with the Galactic Federation of Light?
Well, I'm not going to say I'm publicly exposed. I think I'll be right out there. All I know is that God stands for General Operating Device. It's a free shareware. All you got to do is ask, and you can access any bloody program on the goddamn universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're all of it. It's us. It's all of it is us. And an interesting reading that I did for someone the other day, and it said that like we are projections. We're not really here. We think we're here, but we're not really here, right? Our higher selves like are up there, or our multidimensional galactic selves like are up there, projecting us onto the planet. So we are walking projections. And we're here and we're there at the same time, like, and because we're multidimensional like beings, and so and so you have access to all of it, everything, and it's just to me it's like a big playground, and it's just like, well, where do you want to play today, or where do you want to go today, or what experience do you want to have like today? And that's what you will have. I mean, I've been watching some people like on YouTube get very, very caught into the dramas of things that are going on like on the planet and stuff, and I'll look at them sometimes and I think, like, why would you want to have that experience? Like, and it's like, I know it's a reality. Yeah, it's a reality for some people. Like, it's a reality, but like, do I choose that to be my reality? Like, no. I don't know. I'm like aware of it. I'm aware of it. And look, I do a lot of work to do with that at night. Like a lot of because it's like you don't want to ignore stuff like that, like either. But it's not my human self to get caught up in and involved like in that, but my nightly galactic being that goes traveling at night does very much do a lot of work to do like with that and helping and assisting. But during the day, it's almost like a rest period. During the day, like it's like, yeah, it's like you do all the work at night and then during the day you just get to be human.
Yeah, I think you've listening to you, you've got that wonderful status where you actually are connected and you know why you're here and you're doing what you need to do. So there's none of that kind of searching or sort of getting confused that most of us go through it initially when we're trying to figure out why on earth we're here. You've got that quiet confidence. And I'm just going to respond to some of the comments that are being made. And somebody said, oh, there's no evidence for this kind of thing. Yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of archaeological evidence and culturally that shows that there's a cosmic heritage. Even the Indigenous talk about it all the time and credit it and acknowledge it. And, I'm also a past life and between lives practitioner, and I learned really quickly that, we never know. I don't lead people off to memories about other realms or other incarnations, but it just happens, and it is simply based on people's memories of different planets. And I'm half the time trying to work out, where they are in time and where they are in space. And sometimes it's kind of hard because, the different realms, not the low ones, but the higher frequency ones are so different, they're very hard to explain and feel. So, a lot of my clients have actually remembered different things that are talked about, like Malkuth being destroyed or being on Mars and being on Orion and Sirius and connecting down to Earth. And certainly Kai and myself actually met at an Afterlife Explorers conference in Byron Bay many years ago. And I think we had a room of about 200 people, didn't we? And, about 80% of them, I asked us straight away who's had experiences, and 80% of them had experiences, and we're very happy to talk about that and share. It's stuff that people don't normally talk about in mainstream, but when you're in this field, people are very happy to talk about it and confide in it because they kind of treasure it as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, everyone's here to have their own experience. Like, hey, and look, I've always been of that mind that unless I can see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, all the senses, it doesn't exist. And so, I can understand so many people don't believe in it because they haven't had the experience, they haven't had the sensations, they haven't felt it. And I knew someone would say that, like today, and so I was thinking about it and thought, yeah, because I could be loopy, right? It could all be my imagination, but I don't think so. And two reasons I don't think so is because so many other people on the planet are having these experiences at the same time, which blows my mind because we're not connected like at all, and all across the planet, like it doesn't discriminate, like across the globe. The timing of it, how we were all activated, like at the same time, that blew my mind as well, because how do you activate hundreds of thousands of people across an entire planet? How does that happen? That has to come from somewhere, right? And the other thing is that because I channel DC12 through my body, it's not like when I channel my guide, it's automatic writing, and I'm going, yeah, that could be my imagination, right? But except the information that he brings through blows my mind. I could never make up the stuff that he does, and can be quite intense and does my head in, sometimes, because I can't always understand. It's quite technical. It can be very technical, which is beyond me. That can't be me. Or maybe it's my higher self. You can explain it away like that. So, but with the DC-12, with the group that I channel, because they channel through my body and they move my body around. And when I say they move my body around, they can move around an entire hall. They will move my body around a hall and in large vortexes, and they will stamp their feet. They will make me jog up and down on the spot, and that's not me doing that. So I feel it. I feel them, and I go, okay, that's how I know it's not me doing it.
Yeah.
But
and as a Qigong teacher,
yeah.
I was watching some of your videos, and you were actually doing things like that we actually do in Qigong. So I know that when I watch some of your movements, I actually know what they're doing. So that was the other convincer, that sort of I knew you were legitimate. You weren't making it up, because you were there's sort of deep knowledge of the body and the cells in there. The other third thing that really got me interested was we were talking to Thomas Staudach about cymatics, and there was this picture, this sort of Tesla-like molecule, and there was also a crop circle that had recently come up in the UK, and I saw the structures, and I was going, wow, they match. And you'd done a channeling for a circle for a client, and something came up on a crop circle, and you posted about it. So as you say, that's information that is very technical, but that needs to come through, so that we can, as a collective, we can start using and developing new potential with our understandings. Jeff, have you got that Tesla kind of cube type of picture ready there?
I'm just looking for it.
Yeah. So what was the circumstance, Kai, that...
Sorry? Oh.
Yeah, what were the circumstances where you started looking into the crop circle and channeling those molecular structures?
Okay, so the well, that particular guide drawing that I did that had the light language in it, that was very similar to the crop circle that came out. He's his higher self, or his multidimensional self, is working up on a space station, and he's like a production engineer. So he's part of the game. Like you said, I was talking about projections, we're projections, and this is all, this is all a big game. It's it's a program, right? It's all a big program and stuff. And he was part of producing some of the program, and part of that was sending orbs to Earth and sending what's contained in the orbs. So there's messages contained in the orbs, and they talked about the orbs being similar to pigeons in wartime. Whereas pigeons were used to deliver messages in wartime that could have the potential to change history, right? And so the orbs are doing the same thing. So the orbs that you see, there's messages being delivered, and he was part of that, sending them to Earth, who they were sent to, what they contained, what messages they were contained, and things. And when I saw the connection to the light language that came out in his drawing, and then just literally 2 weeks later, a crop circle appeared in Wiltshire with the same type of language, very, very, very similar. And I thought, wow, if he's in charge of sending orbs to Earth and messages that are contained in them as well, then it's quite possible that he is sending, codes as crop circles as well. So I belong to a group of code keepers that is, at the moment, there's 11,500 of us worldwide who are in codes that's our specialty, is to bring codes in to the planet and working with different codes, codes for individuals, codes for the land, codes for all sorts of different things. And there's a person like on there who said he knew who actually created that crop circle in real time, like on the planet. And, you know, because it's still weighing up, like, you know, is it humans doing it? Is it the galactic beings doing it? Like, who's really doing the crop circles, right? And so this person, he said he knew who did it on the Earth realm. And so I sent him a message and said, well, who? Because, you know, the language is so similar to this client's language that maybe there's a message in there for him, and he might need to know. And then silence. He wouldn't tell me. So yeah, on one hand he's saying he knew who created it on the Earth, and then on the other hand, like, he, you know, then he just zipped up. He wouldn't tell me. So I still have no idea, like, the connection and stuff there. But you know, this is something that's like ongoing for me, like looking into the crop circles as well, because I'm getting other information from above, from my galactic team, on who is creating the crop circles and why. And so I'm sort of, you know, I'm still investigating. And so, like, I haven't said anything, and this is why I'm not saying anything at the moment, because I'm still investigating it from both sides, you know. But I might just, you know, end up putting the theory out there, because even like what my galactic team is telling me, even up by George, I don't know, it's the meaning behind, because we hone in on each individual crop circle, and you can go to sites and they will decipher the crop circles, you know, what are the meanings, you know, what could it possibly mean, what messages it's sending and everything like that. But there's actually like a much bigger message, like when you look at it overall. So at the moment, like, we're just honing in on the individual, but when you look at the bigger picture, the more expansive picture, wow, the meaning that they told me, that they gave me, like, for that could have like huge implications, like for the betterment of humanity, like as a whole, and Gaia. But I have to be so careful. I have to be so careful about, because I've had this information for quite a few years, but I thought, God, who do I tell? Like, who do I, you know, like, you have to be like so careful, like, who you tell this information to, because the information that they've given me could be misused. And so I don't want to put it out there, like, in the public realm, that then somebody else is going to pick it up and it's going to be used, you know, like the atomic bomb. Not saying that will happen, but I'm saying, you know, like, how that the person who invented that was not their intention, you know, like. And so, like, they're telling me to shut up, Kai. You're going, that's enough. Sorry.
All right, we'll let you shut up on that.
They're going, shut up.
Fair enough.
Don't say any more.
Just going back to the codes, go on.
Oh, so I was going to say, like, because funny that you say about the Tesla information and stuff as well, because some of the codes I did share with you, the pyramid one, Jeffrey, the pyramid code, and then there was like the circular one, and then there was one with a black background. Those three.
No, they were gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah. So my guide actually told me those ones. If you can bring those up, I'll talk about those. He said they were actually working with Tesla forces, because, okay, so I worked on this project like a couple of years ago, and it was called the Abundance Project, and it was with a group of code keepers from different countries, and we all got together and we were working on bringing in financial abundance and clearing blocks to financial abundance. And so we were asked, each one of us was asked to bring in codes for that, and then like we worked with them like as a group. So that particular like code there is the clearing codes, clearing blocks to financial abundance. And those three symbols that you see there in the corners are called, sorry, just, okay. Unlocking the three aspects of Mu. And so I said to them, like, well, what's Mu? And Mu is the inner self, the outer self, and the beyond self, which all serves to block us from our own financial abundance. And then the second code was the sort of hexagonal sort of type circular one. And I've got these above my doorway, these codes, because I created an activation gateway over my door. And I've got one on the inside of the door, like above the door frame, and one on the outside. And I set up a seal around it. And then every time I walk through the door, I'm activating and clearing, like all the time. And before I had those codes up there, I was really struggling like with I was struggling with finances. I was struggling with work, getting enough work. I was barely getting 10 hours of work a week, and I was really struggling. And since those have been up there, not a thought. I haven't had to think about, you know, having enough work. In fact, I said to my daughter the other day, I really want to talk about this one in a second, because that is the original code. I said to my daughter the other day, I'm really thinking about taking them down because I had too much work. I have too much work now. So, but this is how it presented to me in the beginning when I was given the codes. And I created a video of this. And look, I really tried to find the video for you guys, but I couldn't find it because I've changed devices, and so I'm not sure which device like it's saved on. But the code came to me in a spinning format. So imagine that is moving and that's spinning. And my guide said to me, like, it's from Arcturian, so it's Arcturian, and they call it Arcturo light. And so it's a form of communication. So this is actually a code. It's got the maths and the science in it that we talked about. And he also said this is working with Tesla forces. So imagine this is spinning and spinning and spinning. And I did create a video of this, like spinning. So it's in its spinning format like that, like it's more able to hold higher, like 12D light information. And then, so they gave it to me in my mind's eye in the spinning form, and then they said to me, okay, because I thought, how am I going to recreate that? So they gave me the 2D images, which is the ones that you just saw, the pyramid, and then the other static code. And then they said, okay, we'll give you the blueprint to that, like now make it spin, which is what I had to do. So I had to make it spin to do the video. And then a friend of mine said to me, we'll actually construct it 3D as well. So I've constructed, like, especially the pyramid type shape one, I've constructed a 3-sided pyramid, which is like an activation, a field activator. So you put it in your home office and activates the fields like around you as well. Yeah, so he said it was it was an upgrade. Like, this is us evolving, you know, like my codes in the beginning were very, very simple, and, you know, like as we're evolving, and also technology, as technology is evolving, and all the code keepers are working with the digital formats as well. We're starting to get more and more complex, like with the codes. That one was connected to Atlantis, that one from memory. And so you'll see like a lot of code keepers, they mirror their work. Like they'll do a code and a drawing, and then they'll go into the digital apps and they'll work with them digitally, and they'll mirror them and maybe overlay them with different things. And so that's injecting, it's bringing them to life like more, I guess, with the urge to air, and injecting like more light and more information, amplifying the message like as well. So, and with the OSC. And so the spinning video that I created of that code, to work with that, you actually sit with the video, and you just watch it, and as it's spinning, like you see all the colors change, and then you see patterns start to forming like in it, and you can feel it, like you said before, Julia, like it starts to activate your third eye. And so it's opening up in the dorne neuronal pathways like as well. Laying down new neuronal pathways. So you can sit with that code for, so that's a gateway, like that one. So I use these in my journeys to travel through, travel interdimensionally through the gateways. Yeah, so there's different ways that you can work with the codes, like as well. There's so many different ways that you can work with them, and most people like specialize in certain areas of codes. Like some people might just bring through dragon codes, or some people will work with grids for the land. A lot of my codes like now come through so that's another beautiful way. I can just imagine like space flight just like going through there. How glorious would that be? A lot of my codes, like now I'm doing a lot of guide work, so as well as the channeling with DC12, so a lot of the codes are coming through that way. And I get more sort of like tool, like that one, the spinning one, like more tools, what I call quantum tools of light. So some of my clients will get blueprints for things like amulets that can help them like in their healing practices. And so, for example, like one client was given the blueprints for the designs. We were given the design and the instructions of how to make this amulet. And once this amulet like was made, she'd be able to use it like with her clients in her healing practice to align in Dorne, clear, activate, align all the chakras instantly, like in a millisecond, which would save her doing all the work, because it's very laborious. Like they think it's very laborious, like what we do. You know, we go through each chakra, you know, one by one, like clear. It takes ages, half an hour, whatever. And they're going, no, you don't need to do that. Bang, you can do it like that. And they gave her this blueprint, and all she has to do is just lay it on the client, and you know, it will just instantly align everything like that. And they do that sometimes with me in the panel readings as well. They might put my hands like a certain way, like in a certain code, and I'm just standing there like a statue. I'm like, what's happening? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And they're going, oh, we're just aligning all the chakras. And I'm like, okay, and I have to stand there and hold it like an antenna. And that's what I am. I'm an antenna sometimes, you know, like just to bring through this through. I'm just a conduit antenna to help them do the work that they want to do and everything. And yeah, and so they'll do that. They'll hold that for a minute or two and then go, done. Easy.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's good.
I know exactly what you mean, because that happened today. And I remember when I first started out, I was reading Doreen Virtue, and she said what she does every day to clear chakras, and it just take half an hour. So I'd probably just do it once a week, or once every 2 weeks. But today I was working with a client, and I just sort of said channel a geometric shape, and that shape then held his structure and just aligned everything just like that. So it's it's there's definitely faster ways to do it. So Kai, thank you very much. You know, we're really honored to be for you to share those codes with us. You know, I'm sure that a lot of our viewers could, you know, will benefit from the financial abundance one, and the Arcturus was beautiful, as well as the blue pink one. If they want, you've got a YouTube. If they want to sort of find out more, how do they best get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I've got the YouTube channel, and look, you know, because I was finding it very hard to explain to people like what it is like exactly that I do, and so I've put some example readings up there on the YouTube channel. So if they want to know more, they want to see me in action, you can see me actually doing some readings. Some of them I'm doing in person, so the client is actually sitting in front of me. You don't get to see the client, you only get to see me, but you can see me do the work like in real time, like with the client. And some of the readings are by distance, and so some of them I am actually like on FaceTime with the client, and I'm doing it with them watching. Some of them I will just record and then send it to them, so it's just like doing distance work. So yeah, so there's example readings on the YouTube like channel, and I'm starting to like do a few Q&As like with DC12 as well. I'm doing an interesting, I just filmed one last week, which was on the COVID-19 possible vaccination that's coming out, and just what their thoughts were like on that. And so I'll be editing that up over the next week and try and get that up like online. So yeah, just delving into a bit more information like with them as well. And then most of my guide artwork is on my Instagram, like on my Facebook, so people can go there and just have a look at some of the work. And if they're interested, they can, in anything, like to have a reading or either a guide art reading, or whether they want to have a quantum reading with the Federation, they can just send me a DM. I just keep it simple, you know, just send me a private message and I can send them the information. Yeah, si torna che se no colonna.
Gorgeous. So for your website, that's what is the website address? Sorry, I know you sent me a very long link. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, because my YouTube channel is quite new, so you can't have a custom YouTube URL until you've got 1,000 subscribers. And so I know it's got a lot of numbers and everything after it, but it's on my Facebook page. Like the YouTube link is on there. People can just click on that, and it will take them straight to the YouTube as well. So. So this year I've been mainly concentrating on getting the YouTube up, just because I felt like I needed some example readings that people could see, so they could see what they were stepping into, you know, like so now when people ask me sort of, you know, about what I do, it's just like, well, go have a look. It's much easier than me trying to explain something. And maybe next year you know, I might look at doing a website, but really the website, like I would probably just have for purchases, really. So yeah, at the moment it's just the YouTube or the Facebook, and then just private message me.
Yeah, great.
Well,
that's wonderful, Kai. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, and you know, sharing your journey and letting us listen to the light language and feel it, and the codes as well. And it's just really exciting. You know, you do sound like a bit of a telecom engineer to me, who's bringing in different sort of quantum light packets and love packets and radiance, and just new potential, seeding that. So a bit like a gardener as well, sort of dropping in new seedlings into the collective's potential. So well done you for doing that work.
I have to say, the biggest issue in all these first contact situations, I mean, whether you're a James Cook turning up at Tahiti, or whether you're the Dutchman coming around to the top of Western Australia, I mean, it's quite, we're even coming into North America, whether you're the Spanish conquistadors, but first contact's always an issue, isn't it? So I remember meeting Al Billick, who was involved in the Philadelphia experiment and the time travel stuff, and he was explaining to me how the Americans had licked time travel back in the 60s, and he said we've got ships that are traveling out in the star systems already, and even back in 1984 when I was talking to Al, they catalogued 28. Had treaties with 28 different species, and they had already clocked 60 species. So that was in the late 60s that the Americans already started sending out their ships. So Al Billick, really interesting gentleman. Edward Cameron, Duncan Cameron, the two boys who were involved in the Philadelphia experiment, who jumped off for the vessel Eldridge to end up in Potomac River, which they didn't. They ended up in Montauk, up there in New York State. So first contact. So the next question, of course, there's been a few TV series. I noticed that Julia said she's a Star Wars supporter and Jeff's a Star Trek supporter. In Star Trek, they had a movie, First Contact, and it showed, the interference of anyone knocking on a civilization who's not ready for it, and then they bow down and treat you like gods, and that's not what it's all about. So subtly, you have to make that transition. So there's been a lot of insights thrown in there, such as Celestine prophecies about the fact that you can raise your energy, and as you raise your energy, you move out of the fear base. You do raise the vibration to the point that people can't see you. That's quite an interesting concept. The samurai warriors were trained to reduce their energy field to the size of a pea, so they could actually move into an opposing village and the dogs wouldn't sense them. So how do you make contact? I mean, Life magazine was the one that came out in the 60s and 70s and showed you these pictograms, or they showed you Stonehenge and the pyramids and all that stuff. And now it's a case of crop circles, and it's been thrown in our face instantaneously, and yet we're not warming to that situation that someone is actually making a phone call. And what's happening here? Yeah, that's what the bottom line is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Like the whole thing, like the whole picture is huge. It sounds like every day, like it blows my mind. Yeah, there's so many aspects. There's so many different aspects to it, and like there's a lot more than we know. There's a lot more than we'll ever know. Until we actually pass over, and then we'll fully understand and we'll fully get it. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just playing the game as best I can.
The question about evidential mediumship. I think there's a footsteps that you could walk down if you've got a person who does evidential mediumship, and they do bring members who have passed over. What's to stop them from introducing people who have come from a different higher realm? I mean, but the question then is, how many people are ready for that, as opposed to, I want to hear about my mum or my dad or a brother or sister who's passed away, and not really open to the concept of communicating with a teacher of some importance or some knowledge that could be shared. I think that's just a lack of awareness, isn't it? So I suppose that's your job, is to make people aware.
Yeah, and this is why I put myself out there a bit, Jeff, because, like, I'm inherently shy. I'm very, very shy, and, public speaking is my worst nightmare, and I think why I'm doing this, but I want, I think this is what I'm here for, is to share, like, the more of us that share what we're receiving, and, all the pieces of the puzzle sort of start to come together. And yeah, I really struggled with that in the beginning, because people were so fixated on, past life stuff, and, persons that are passed over, when there's all this higher information that's available, like, to us, and everyone brings through their own their own teams, their own connections with their own information. And so one of the things I'm passionate about is teaching other people like how to channel and other people like how to connect so that they can bring through their own information. And look, when I'm working with DC12, it's not just their notion to come in and do for somebody and take over, and they won't always give you like, you know, they said to me, they're not dictators. They won't dictate to you. They won't tell you what your life's purpose is, but you know, like they will tell you maybe how you can go about getting there to that, to find it for yourself, you know, like, so they guide, you know, that's what they are. They guide, you know, they're there to provide more insights and more information. And so, yeah, just, you know, it's my joy to help other people like connect to their own higher information and bring through stuff for themselves, like, as well. So yeah, DC12 will teach of my clients how to do this quantum work for themselves, especially if they're already like in doing healing work. They will actually, you know, instruct them in person. Okay, you know, do this and do that and follow this, and this is what you're doing and this is how you do it. Now go home and do it for yourself, and then from there you expand and grow. But asking questions was the key for me, was asking questions and then silencing my mind and just listening, you know, for the answers. And that's how I connect, and how I connected like in the beginning, and just asking lots and lots of questions and just be willing and open to receive answers, basically.
The parallel that's coming to me is like that humpback whale that that swam up to, that got lost and swam upstream to the Kakadu National Park. And apparently, you know, I listened to the scientists talking about it today, and they said actually it's really easy to get lost because the mouth of the river is just this really wide funnel and the visibility is really low. So what they're actually planning to do is to guide the whale out by playing whale songs further downstream, because she won't be able to see. So it feels a bit like, you know, when you're talking about, you know, they're there to guide but not to interfere. Sounds a bit like that.
Yes.
You know, we're being led back to the main ocean.
Yeah.
We're really free.
James Cook, he came in here thinking he had a big bay, and it just happened to be Deception Bay, just up the road here.
Yeah.
Hey,
okay.
What have we got?
Come again?
Who have we got next week?
Oh, yeah, sorry. We've got Caroline Milne rejoining us next week to channel angels. So that will be gorgeous.
Okay.
Awesome. So I wanted to say thank you both so much for having me on. Imbit ornate si tornai ki silo ornai ki satana e si tornai ki lana hai. Hesi tornato toto e si tenai ki lana ornai toto e si moya kai ki te si te. Thank you so much. Mutu oes ornate si toto ya. Lots of gratitude.
Gratitude. Thank you for joining us and being brave and courageous and being willing and able to speak your truth.
Thank